All right.
All right. So tell me your name and what you do professionally.
I'm Randy George, and our family owns the Latigo Ranch. So we operate in the summer as a dude ranch and in the winter as a destination cross-country ski center.
Awesome. What are your hobbies?
What are my hobbies? Wow, owning the ranch is a big enough hobby because it allows me to go skiing and it allows me to go riding and uh, it, be with a lot of great people. So the people side of things, as well as the outdoor activities, that fills me.
Great. And as far as Nordic skiing goes, how did you get into it and how long have you been doing it?
I started Nordic skiing about 50 years ago when I was in college. Did a little bit then, not a lot, but my real development in the sport began to occur as the mountain manager of the Eldora ski resort. We were developing the Nordics program there and laying out trails and all those sorts of things. So I began to ski more and more there. And then the last 30 plus years here at Latigo Ranch, with all that we're doing, I get to do a lot that way.
Awesome. And kind of talking about Latigo, how was it started and where is it located? Because that's some folks might not know that.
Sure. Well, the ranch is located about 16 miles northwest of Kremling.
Mhm.
Don't know where Kremling is. It's in a sort of the center of a triangle between Vail and Steamboat Springs and Winter Park. Um, and the ranch was started in 1928 as a guest ranch and operated as such. They had a little bit of a Nordic program in the 80s, but they found it was too hard to keep the roads open and allow people to get here. But when we bought the ranch in 1987, we thought, wow, this is a beautiful place to do some Nordic skiing. So the following winter, then we began grooming trails and open to the public for that, and it's been a great time ever since.
That's great. And I feel like it's somewhat rare to see these family-owned ranches, at least in the Nordic skiing world. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that kind of a rarity?
In terms of the ranch, yes, there are some long-term family operations in the Nordic industries in the Midwest and the East, but it's uncommon right here in Colorado.
And that seems like a really cool aspect of it. So can you explain how your family is involved in the operations there?
Well, we've lived here, like I said, for over 30 years. This will be our 33rd winter. And our kids grew up here. Actually, we homeschooled, and part of what we did was their physical education program was to go out and ski. So we'd go and ski, and then they had certain goals that they were trying to meet throughout the winter. Um, that was a great part of the family. And now that our children are grown, um, my son Spencer and his wife Amanda. Spencer's our head chef now, and Amanda is a sommelier and also runs the dining room. So they take care of that part. My daughter Hannah is our head wrangler in the summer, and in the winter she's one of the people that provides you these fabulous breakfasts every morning, and so she helps in the kitchen.
So it truly is all hands on deck as far as your family goes.
Right, and my wife's the one that's going to be answering the phone, and she and actually her mother, so my mother-in-law and my wife end up doing a lot of the cleaning and getting the cabins ready and all that sort of thing. And then my father-in-law, Dave Shannon, is out right this minute with his compact track loader with a snowblower on it, clearing the foot of snow that we got last night. So it really is not only our immediate family, if you want to call it that, but we've got a multi-generational program going on here, and it's great to be able to work together as a family.
That's great. I think people are typically drawn to family owned businesses. They just, even knowing that it's a family owned business. But what would you say maybe sets Latigo apart, being a family owned business from the more commercial Nordic operations?
Well, I think one of the big things is that when you talk with us before you come, and as I mentioned, we're a destination cross-country ski center. So people come and they spend the night with us. We are open for some day skiers where we'll have lunch and skiing, that sort of a thing. But for the most part, our guests are here overnight, and we have a 2-night minimum in the winter. So they come, they ski. We groom about 50 kilometers for Nordic and both classic and skate skiing, and then people can snowshoe as well. But the big thing is when you talk with us, you're not talking with somebody who's just a seasonal employee. You're talking with the people who are actually making your food, grooming the trails, taking care of you from the minute you walk in until the time that you leave. So there is that sense of, it's almost like us welcoming family into our home, which you really are. We live here year round. And so it's hard for a lot of people to understand that we're not a hotel attached to some cross-country ski trails. We're it. The whole family and the whole operation is geared together around making a great guest experience. And for example, before people come, we will contact them and we will say, what kind of skiing do you want to do? Do you have any dietary restrictions? Those kinds of things. It's a very personal, very interactive approach. A number of our guests have come back year after year and spend time with us. We've got families that have been coming for over 30 years back to the ranch, and they'll come several times during the winter. Mm-hmm. We've got one family that we love that's coming next week, and they've got 2 little boys, and then a mom and a dad, and then the grandparents, and they've spent the last 5 Christmases with us, and they just have a wonderful time. And we really are welcoming friends back into our home every time those people show up. And the new people that come, it takes them a few minutes to get the feel, but before they leave, it's hugs all around and, safe travels, and we had a great time. So another thing that we do, and it's a little bit different, and I refer to it as concierge grooming, in that people will say, how often do you groom your ski trails? I say, well, it depends on who's here. And I will ask people at dinner the night before, where do you want to ski tomorrow? And if it needs to be groomed, then I'll go out in the morning and groom it for them.
Wow.
Where they want to go, and then I'll do other things as needed. But some people say, well, we only groom, every other day or 3 times a week or whatever it is. And we find out what our guests want and deliver that for them.
So it's truly a really tailored personal experience, which is awesome.
Yeah, that really is. Another thing, some people are concerned that there's not enough to do. Our culture has been so frenetic and activity oriented that they think, well, what am I going to do if all there is to do is ski? Well, people ski, right? And that's a big part of it. They eat. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
They sit around the table, and that's another thing, is that it's a family style dining. So if there's a couple here that has an anniversary, let's say, we will put them in a separate place if they want to have a quiet dinner together, right? But otherwise, we're all sitting around the table together, sharing stories about what we did during the week and where we're from and what we're thinking, and what's important in our lives. And so dinners, lunches as well, but more so dinners, they're not just to sit down and refuel your body. They're a time of real social interaction and growth and development of long-term friendships.
That's great. Do you have a lot of, it sounds like you definitely have some, do you have a lot of return customers, return families that will vacation with you year after year?
We do. The majority of our winter guests are 2-3 night stays. We have some that come for a week, but the majority are 2 to 4 nights in length. And yeah, a lot of repeat business that way. But over the last couple of years, we've seen a growing interest from new folks that have come from not only around Colorado, but from elsewhere in the nation. And obviously, the cross-country ski industry in Colorado ebbs and flows with what goes on the Midwest, the East Coast, and the West Coast. If they're low snow years, Colorado has more activity in the destination market like we are. But if those are having banner snow years, then we tend to get fewer people from out of state, but more in-state guests.
That makes sense. It's like the
Another,
opposite of snowbirds.
right, yeah. Another thing that we have found happening more and more too is, well, here's an example. We had a group here 2 years ago who had been here 10 years ago, and their group of guys that knew each other in college, they all lived in the same dorm in college, and every year they try to go somewhere together in the winter. And they came here 10 years ago, and then they decided they liked it and wanted to do it again, and they came back 10 years later.
Wow.
We have another group of ladies who come from Steamboat Springs, actually, and they'll be anywhere from 15 to 20, and they'll come over for a couple of nights. But this sort of group getaway where people are not traveling as a family or as a couple, but they're traveling with friends and making a several day outing and really a several day party of it.
That's great. As far as, someone who's maybe never tried Nordic skiing, or it's a family, whether it be in Denver or in the Midwest or on the East Coast, that kind of wants to try something new as a winter vacation, why would you recommend Nordic skiing, and particularly, the experience at Latigo?
Well, first of all, Nordic skiing, I think the advantage to Nordic skiing is that you can get started pretty quickly. And actually, we have a number of people who want to start on snowshoes till they feel really secure. And then they'll transition to skis where they now have some sliding, some gliding going on, and begin to learn how to handle that. The thing with other winter sports like alpine skiing is that the learning curve can be pretty steep to get out and enjoy yourself. And also the mountains have a lot of people on them. And so you really have to be looking out for what's going on around you. Whereas at Latigo, our maximum guest numbers in the winter are about 24, right? And we groom 50 kilometers of trail. So you may encounter some people out there, but you may have just a solitary experience with you and your wife or husband or your family out skiing. And we give lessons. It's all part of our package. We want people to develop as they ski because they'll have much more enjoyment if they do. So I think Nordic skiing is good because it provides an opportunity to get out in the woods, to do so in a quiet environment, and to get out pretty quickly and enjoy yourself without feeling totally frustrated that you can't get down this steep mountain. And then Latigo in particular is because of that personal touch that we give, and that family orientation, where it's not like you have to try to find somebody to help you. We're always around, and just ask and we'll take care of it.
Well, you've certainly sold me on a vacation there. That sounds great. Do you have any other kind of cool stories or memories that stand out? I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, so I'm sure you have a lot, but just to kind of wrap us up here, anything that really sticks out?
One of the things that we've noticed over the last couple of decades is that we're getting people who were avid alpine skiers that are now turning to cross country. They like the Nordic experience because of the quiet, because of the beauty, and they still get to get a physical outdoor activity, but maybe their knees aren't at a situation where they can do the bumps anymore, or they can handle deep powder. They want to be moving at a little bit slower speed and not risking the kinds of physical injuries that they might if they were on the alpine slope. So we see that sort of thing going on. But I think the stories that I see and the memories that I have are people with big grins. They've gone out, they've had a beautiful time, and they've come back and they've just said that this was a really special time as a family or as a couple. And partly it's because, although we've got internet access and some of those kinds of things, um, you're not bombarded with all of the um, commercial aspects of large resorts.
Yeah.
And because of that, your whole body just relaxes and your mind gets into a different place. And then you go out and you ski and you see the marks on the snow where the hawk has landed and grabbed um, an ermine for dinner, and you see those kinds of things. And it really puts you back in touch with nature, and that helps you get much more in touch with who you were created to be.
Awesome. Well, I really, really appreciate your time, Randy.
My
It was great
pleasure.
talking with you. And again, I might just come visit soon. You've sold me.
That'd be great. We'd love to have you.
Awesome. Have a great rest of your day, Randy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.